Hello and welcome, travelers, to the day number 2 update to the Void Knight Time Rot build. Let's go ahead and showcase a roughly 200-ish corruption of an Oribus. Then let's get into the changes we made today for the character and what all happened. Mainly today was about getting some ideal 1LP upgrades for various uniques that we like on the character. You'll see we're ticking for about 90k currently, as you can see on the Oribus here, or when we actually have it ramped for our time rot. So it's doing decently, and we just got the, let's just call it a very scuffed setup for our set piece. Needless to say, this weapon here and this amulet here isn't really what I want to be wearing. This shield's actually pretty decent, but the thing is you need all three in order to get to the 50 void pen and the more percent damage per time rot stack. Between those two stats, I think you're almost doubling your damage when you get the set bonus. The thing is, though, I've just been having a really rough time finding a decent weapon for this. Like, for example, T6 flat melee void damage is doing absolutely nothing for the build. I would much rather have that be T6 chance to slow, T6 damage over time, T6 void damage, something like that, and we're struggling, to say the least, to get a decent weapon. Outside of that, another option is also having an amulet with the set affix shard and more stats similar to this, damage over time, life, things of that nature would be ideal, but unfortunately, I haven't managed to make that yet, so I'm just going to be wearing the amulet for the time being, because it has chance to inflict time rot and a bit of void damage, so it is okay DPS-wise. But ultimately, it's much more ideal to get decent rares and then get the set affix put onto the item. Now, how do you do that? You need to find and farm the set items, and then you take it to a woven echo called the Great Bridge. This echo right here that I'm highlighting down the bottom left corner of my inventory, this one lets you essentially harvest specific set shards for the various gear slots, the sword, the shield, and the amulet. And you put it into this thing, it crushes them up and gives you shard affixes. Once you do that, technically you can also farm additional shards by putting items here. I, for example, had my shield in there for a bit, and it was generating items that had the void damage, less damage taken on block. It had that affix on it. So that is another way to get additional shards outside of farming additional set pieces. But initially, you need to farm the set, then crush them up in the shards, and that gives you a big damage multiplier. So that's one of the very big upgrades you can do for the character. Big upgrade number 2, I would say, is getting 1 LP of various uniques that are quite strong for the build. Example number 1, Atrophy. These gloves give good pen, chance to slow, both damage multipliers for time rot. And if you just get 1 LP for this, you can force on a T7 hybrid of life or T7 of damage over time, like a damage stat. That's up to you. I went for life for more defense. And then 1 LP of Blood of the Exile for movement speed. These boots are giving us about 68% movement speed, which is just really high, make us move fast. And then 1 LP of Brewmaster, which is just a belt that has endurance, a lot of vitality, and if you're using your potions, you then get additional endurance threshold, which makes you quite a bit tankier. So what do you do when you find these items with 1 LP, or where do you farm them? I have some tips and tricks for you. For the Blood of the Exile boots, I was using them in both this slot and this slot, and I started dropping them fairly often. So you want to do that until you get maybe 1 LP version of the boots, and then work backwards from there to get a pair of boots with a T7 movement speed. Now, when it comes to farming T7 movement speed, you don't necessarily have to find an item that has T7 movement speed specifically, although that would help. You can also make the item occur with Runes of Havoc, which is this one right here, which I've used all of them, or Runes of Redemption. If you have a boots with a T7 prefix, for example, and you do Rune of Redemption, it'll just keep rolling in the prefix pool, and there's not many prefix mods in boots. It's basically 5 different attributes, or 3 different attributes, 4 different attributes, whatever it is, and then the final affix, other than that, is basically movement speed. There's not a lot of options, so Rune of Redemption on a T7 prefix works really well for boots. Or if you have a T7 mod already on there, like some other suffix or some other prefix, and you craft on movement speed, Rune of Havoc will give you a 1 in 4 chance to swap it to the movement speed. And that's what I did to get T7 Hybrid on gloves and on the belt. Very nice. Basically, it doesn't matter what T7 affix you have on the gear piece. It just needs to be the same slot. And then you force on another affix, do Rune of Havoc to try to swap it around. I like that for going for hybrid. And then Rune of Redemption on boots was great for hitting movement speed in terms of you don't want to use all your Runes of Havocs. So if you could save them, the boot slot, movement speed is a fairly common mod. It's an easier one to force reroll. Another thing about Rune of Redemption, I will say, is Rune of Redemption's rolling for a lot of the Sentinel prefixes or Sentinel, just mostly Sentinel prefixes on body armor and helmet. A lot of those prefixes come with void damage or damage over time or time rod or stuff like that. So if you get some good T7 or T6 exalted gear pieces with those stats, try them out. I think it's worth rolling around and seeing what you end up hitting on those gear affixes. So that's the main gear upgrades we've done today so far. And then we're just going to be working on corruption pushing and start trying to upgrade these pieces to get better armor pieces, increase that defenses, and just work our way up through the corruption system. So yeah, that's the current look at the Time Rot Void Knight, and that's how we're currently doing. Hopefully you guys enjoy this update. There will be the link to the last epic planner down below. This, I believe, it seems like it's regularly pulling an update to the character, so I won't need to continuously import the character into planners. You can just check this link here to see what the current pull of the gear is. Right now, it hasn't pulled the new weapon and amulet because I just swapped those for the video to showcase, hey, the set affix shards are a pretty good update. For example, before I did this update, I think I was getting up to 50k dot ticks, swapping out the amulet and the weapon made those dot ticks go all the way up to 100k. I think the very last dot tick on the Orbis there was 100k dot tick. So we're working our way. There's a lot of upgrades to do. Potentially late game, we will start, or later on when we get gear to support it, we will start looking into doing some of the other skills, like maybe Warpath could be a higher damage Time Rot applicator. But that's going to require some mana gear and some other stuff. So I'm not really ready to do that yet. And right now we're kind of cruising at 200 corruption, and we're going to push that corruption up today on stream. So yeah, anyways, that's the update to the Time Rot Void Knight. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out.